How long do these fights last?
Oh, they can last anywhere from 3 seconds to 5 minutes, depending on the skill of the combatants. This is not rehearsed. This is all skill versus skill. It's a martial art.
So how have you been done on the overall picture here, the overall scheme?
Oh, I'd say out of the society as a whole, we are the Society of Creative Anachronism. I probably rank somewhere in the top third. I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I'm definitely in the top third.
You're the one who sweats the most too, I believe.
Oh, if you don't not sweating, you're not trying.
We're at the Vista Viking Festival in Vista, California, on another edition of Out and About with Roger Martin.
We have been wandering and enjoying the company and enjoying the culture, just enjoying the different fellowship with everybody here.
We've been coming for about 4 years now. Same here, I've been adding to my garb left and right.
Well, you started with what and ended up with all of this?
Well, started out with the breastplate, and you hammered in, and then adding to it from the bottom of the belt down. We got alligator and we got tooling from the arms down. I mean, it's just been a never-ending story here.
It's like there is a human being in there, right? I mean,
Somewhere in between the flesh and the outside, we're all good.
Well, we've been doing the different fairs for probably over about 25 years. So needless to say, I introduced him to this and I created a monster.
This is called the Vista Viking Festival. It happens September every year. This is our 17th annual Vista Viking Festival. This is a fundraiser for our mother organizations, the Sons of Norway, which is an old fraternal order of Norwegians, like the Sons of Italy, or there's Sons of the Greeks, everybody. They have been here since 1955. This property is owned by our Norway Hall Foundation. And we've been having festivals here for decades and decades.
So today, what do we expect?
Well, we have right here behind you where there's going to be Viking combat. We should have some Vikings here in just a few moments. And we have some of our competitions here. We have our famous log toss. How far can you throw a large log? We will be having our famous fish fling contest. And that's how far you can throw a dead fish, oddly enough.
None of them live, right?
No, they will not be live. We will have other games like the Viking blind chest game, which is two blindfolded people swinging what used to be a bag of dead fish. Now it's just socks. But you would swing dead fish and try to knock each other to let their hand off of the chest. So that game will be going on here. We have up here our weapons range where people are doing archery, javelin throw, and of course the ever popular axe throwing. That's wild, crazy all over the country nowadays.
Plenty of things to see and to do here.
Yes.
And I'm thinking if this happens every year, you've got quite a crowd.
We have quite a crowd. The last couple years, we've gotten about 10,000 people come through here. And they've come to visit not only to see the Viking combat, but we have our living history Viking village over here. We have 6 clans of Viking reenactors, and they each set up their own little spot. The one group up here runs the weapons range. We have another group that runs the outdoor oven. We have a permanent built outdoor oven. We have right over here our forge, our blacksmith shop. You'll notice that the blacksmith shop, our weapons range, our baking oven, our 2 stages, our grounds here for battle. They're all permanently part of our infrastructure. So we're different than a lot of other festivals that just come into a county park or a fairgrounds and they set up and then leave. We use this facility year-round for our purposes. Norway Hall for the Sons of Norway meetings and for our Norwegian Fish Club Odin meetings. And that's where the Vikings come in.
Norway Hall serves as a central meeting place, enabling Scandinavian artisans and historians a chance to engage the public in their upcoming programs and events.
I'm captain of the Norwegian Fish Club Odin, and that's a Walk MS team. And we have been organized for about 14 years since my son was diagnosed with MS. We raise money for the National MS Association. At the Fish Club booth, you can talk more. They have Skolniers collecting donations even as we speak for MS. The Fish Club gets together every other month to celebrate Scandinavian heritage. Odin, who presides over the Fish Club, speaks in Norwegian for the first half of the meeting, and we have a translator for those of us who don't speak enough Norwegian to understand every word that he says. And we eat fish, except for once a year we have beef, usually. And our Norwegian chef comes from Orange County to prepare us our delectable fish soup, homemade bread. It's a fabulous evening. Yeah, we get together and there's entertainment. Some of the entertainments that you'll see here are entertainments that we have at the Fish Club meetings.
Inside the hall, the artistic talents of many generations are on hand, featuring samples of exquisitely painted wares and demonstrations of fine weaving. In addition to the Norwegian artworks of these skilled craftsmen, there are ample foods available like Swedish meatballs, as well as a generous assortment of sweet treats, courtesy of a tireless group of Norwegian bakers. Tell us about those Scandinavian baked goods.
I'm so proud of them because the Daughters of Norway hand bakes many Scandinavian specialty items. And we have krumkake. Normally we make that on the spot, but this year we're not doing it. But we have krumkake. People eat it with whipping cream and lingonberries often. It looks like an ice cream cone, but it's much better. It has cardamom in it. It's much better. We also have lefse made by the Sons of Norway, which is our Norwegian flatbread. It's sustained generations of Scandinavians, and we eat that with everything from sausage to butter, cinnamon and sugar, or jam, or anything that you want we put on our lefse. And they're baking it. You can watch them make it and eat a hot one right in the Norway Hall today.
A popular attraction for the youngsters is the famous fish fling contest, where kids in different age groups put aside their video games long enough to toss a dead fish into a bucket of water. And a major draw to the festival features the spectacle of watching pairs of fierce warriors face off against one another in a visceral display of authentic combat.
This is basically a martial art. We're recreating what's called Western martial arts. It's kind of medieval style combat. We do everything that's possible within our power to do everything full speed, full contact, minus anything that might cause permanent injury. That's why we can't use real weapons, because we're swinging with intent. We also don't allow any grappling, because that's how people get their joints injured. We like to continue hitting our friends the next day and the next day and the next day. We basically focus on martial combat with weapons, only the weapons.
Does this resemble the type of fighting that went on in those days?
It would have. The only addition there would have been more grappling and more wrestling in close combat. We cannot produce that part because there's too much threat of permanent injury to our friends.
Now there's a lot of dust on the ground.
There's that too. Now we do fall down. When we do our larger scale scenarios where we have like 100 people on top of 100 people, we do like a war scenario. We'll have people charging and knocking people down and whatnot. So going down's a real thing. We just don't allow grabbing, no kicking, no punching.
There is no rest for the weary during these grueling battle demonstrations, as each victor soon finds himself facing off with an endless parade of new challengers. The time between bouts is short, just long enough for a quick gulp of water before facing off against the next competitor. And spectators are surprised to see that interspersed throughout the group of warriors are a number of women who share the battle duties with the men as equal adversaries. What has it been like for you to be on the battlefield?
I love being on the battlefield, actually. I die a lot, but I look good doing it. I love fighting. I don't really think about anything except don't die right now, don't die right now, don't die right now. But I feel like myself because I love wearing armor, so I have an excuse to wear it. I get to hit my friends. It's hot and sweaty, but it's so much fun.
How and why did you choose that axe?
I wanted to have a weapon that was a little bit larger. I really enjoyed, I tried someone else's axe. They actually had a much bigger axe, which I found out was a little too small to heft. So I would kind of lift it up and go, eh. So what I ended up doing was I made a smaller one for myself. I had so much fun using it that, as you can see, there's other people that use swords and shields. I normally am an archer, but when I'm on the battlefield and I can't use my bow, I use my axe usually.
All the better to hack your opponent with.
Yes, and people that normally used to being shot by me are very surprised.
When we return, we'll continue the fascination with this extraordinary period in history when we face the heat inside of a blacksmith shop. And we'll tour the weapons range to find out who has an axe to grind when Out and About continues.
He's marking territory. Yeah!
I find it very enjoyable. It's an incredible rush for people to stand there that have never seen it before, and they're cheering you on, and you throw it, and it makes the contact, they cheer, it makes you feel really, really special inside. And as a teaching point of view, it's really, really gratifying to teach like a little girl or even an adult how to properly throw the axe. And if they do it correctly and it sticks, they get all excited, and you know that if it wasn't for your teaching and them learning the correct way, they would never have been able to do it.
She knives a greedy hand. Way up always way up. Down each other, man for man. With whiskey, rum, and radio. Seven eye, really come and snitch. Way up always way I up. The Viking dude got bloody reds. With whiskey, rum, and radio.
Most people think of Viking as a peoples. Vikings are not a peoples. Viking is an activity like pirating. And it was an activity engaged with by Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes. Danes mostly came down into southern Great Britain, and Swedes went east and Norwegians went west, although there's a lot of mingling. So the people all around them knew these as the Norse people. But when they started Viking, that's what you would hear them say. Viking, Viking, that means these people are coming to raid, not that they are Viking peoples.
In the sense they're pirates, is that it?
They were like pirates, yes. Pirates and raiders and settlers. Vikings did a lot more settling than pirates did.
So did they ever get to North America?
They certainly did. They got to Newfoundland, and they landed there, and they had at least one settlement that was used probably nearly 100 years, either permanently or off and on. They're still working on that. And recent satellite imagery is now indicating that there are probably 2 or 3 more settlements out there in the Newfoundland area of the Vikings.
Continuing Out and About's coverage of the Vista Viking Festival, we find ourselves immersed in authentic Scandinavian culture, courtesy of the Norway Hall Foundation. And what better way to fully embrace this lifestyle than to enter one of the many historic encampments which feature artisans displaying some of the many crafts which were part of everyday Viking living. I know this is an encampment. It's kind of a living history, isn't it?
Oh yes, we have a number of different Viking groups. This is one of them you see before us. They have their encampments throughout the grounds. Vikings didn't spend very much time actually looting and pillaging and things. They spent most of their time living normal lives. And in these encampments you get to see the living history example of cooking and eating and weaving and binding and building and just doing all the things that people would do on a normal everyday basis. All our crews come in here, and you can see we got the tents. They come in, they camp in the tents for the weekend, and they put on this whole experience for people to come and see what life was like in those days. It's very low tech out here.
One of our favorite low-tech stops is the blacksmith shop, where tools and weapons are forged for construction and protection.
Well, we're trying to make a historical recreation of a Viking Age blacksmith shop. So we make a variety of things here in the fire, all from either wrought steel or middle grade steel, cooked over a coke forge. And we make a variety of different items, historically accurate artifacts, and things upon request.
Where do you get the source of metal?
All over, actually. A lot of friendly donations and a lot of scrap yards around. And we try to bring it to approximately the same material base they'd be using at the time.
Is this a good way to develop muscles?
Oh, it sure is. Swing a hammer all day, you don't need to go to the gym. We're actually making a historical sword at the moment in the back. That's the whole hall's getting involved in. We're also making smaller items such as food pickers, hair pins, cloak pins, that sort of thing. Those are always popular as well.
Is this the sort of thing that we would have expected the Vikings to be doing?
Oh, absolutely. The Viking blacksmith shop would have made all of your home goods or any materials you'd be using around the house or on ship or on the battlefield would come out of a blacksmith shop.
How about a new microphone for me?
That might be a little hard. Maybe a microphone holder we could whip up for you.
In another part of the encampment, visitors can shell out some of their hard-earned dough to buy loaves of fresh baked bread.
Well, first I take honey and yeast and add it to flour and milk and butter, and I knead it for about 5 minutes. It's really tough to knead, and then I roll it out into loaves and let it sit on the table and rise for about 30 minutes to an hour, and then I put it in the oven and cook it.
So I could do this at home, right, if I had an oven?
Yeah, you could do it at home if you had an oven.
What kind of oven is this?
This is a brick oven. It's a stack of bricks with mud on the outside.
Is the secret in the mud?
I think the secret is in the butter and the milk.
And honey, you said you put honey in there.
Yes, because sugar is not something they would have had back then. I mean, like Vikings, sugarcane grows in hot, temperate areas, and that's not where Vikings come from. Yeah.
Bees come from everywhere,
yeah.
huh?
And they made a very good use of honey. They made meat out of it, and they made bread.
At the weapons range, visitors can dabble in a number of ancient sports like archery. Here, their skills can be explored and tested thanks to a group of informative instructors who share secrets of how to hit that elusive bullseye. What is the best thing to know about archery and shooting a bow?
Well, you have to basically look down the arrow, the shaft of the arrow, when you're aiming. And exactly what you see is exactly where the arrow is going to go.
So it happens every time?
Just about.
Oh,
Just
if
about.
you do it right, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's what you do that too, right?
Yes. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. Once you've done it a few times, it's fairly basic. It looks a little bit more difficult but we have instructors here who have been shooting archery 25, 35 years. Our group is called the Celtic Norse. We represent both Scots and Norwegians. And we've built this weapons range to have axes, archery, and spears for all the patrons. We have a lot of people standing in line. They want to learn how to throw some axes and shoot some archery. We have probably 25 or 35 members that are instructors here throughout the day. We spend probably 2 shifts of 2 hours each teaching people and shooting archery, throwing. We have lots of children who want to throw axes and so forth, so we all take our time to instruct and teach everybody and do a little bit of volunteering.
The trick is to toss the axe in such a way that it will rotate long enough to enable the blade to strike the wooden bullseye at just the right moment. Thanks to Ragnar's detailed instructions, participants soon find that they can bury the hatchet by mastering this skill on their own.
Yeah!
Well, we have a few tricks to help with the technique and your skill. Your foot stance, I usually do 1 step into the area that you want to shoot from. You want to have your axe do 1 full rotation or a 360. So what we do is we have stones set in the ground, and you step 1 step forward with your right foot if you're right-handed to the stone, and once you let go and you release the axe, you should get 1 full rotation to hit the target. And it's probably most important part is your power. When you swing your arm forward, you want your elbow area to come in fast and strong to give you the power, so it will stick to the target, which is probably the most important part. A lot of people throw axes and they bounce right to the ground. You want that to stick really good, so you want your arm to come straight forward, almost like you're trying to lock your elbow. That's when you let go of the axe. And right when you let go and you get your arm straight in that position, it'll go straight into that target and give you a bullseye every time.
So that elbow is the thing, isn't it?
The elbow is the power point. As long as you keep your arm straight, you don't allow your elbow to swing left or right. You just keep your arm straight, and if the straighter you keep your arm, the straighter the axe is going to throw, better shot you're going to get.
As they drift through the various encampments, activities, and demonstrations offered by the Vista Viking Festival, spectators can absorb themselves in a fascinating culture that has captivated historians for centuries.
Well, we can learn a lot about the way these people lived and how much we can appreciate from our own time. One thing that always strikes me is one of the journeyman's tests, traditionally for a blacksmith, was actually making 100 nails in an hour. Which doesn't sound like a lot till you've made a couple nails, and then it really makes you appreciate being able to go down to Home Depot and get a pack for $5. But a lot of that comes on learning how they lived, how they worked their lives, the materials they worked with, and how difficult it was to get the basic necessities of life. You know, it made some hard people and some interesting lifestyles.
I've always loved history, and this is a chance for me to put all the things I've always wanted to play with, use it live. So I'm a history buff. I actually have a minor in history from college. I have a major in computer science, so well-rounded nerd. But what I love about it is I love the people that I get to play with. I get a chance to dress up in armor. I get a chance to dress up in historical clothing, try all the things I've read about in history books, and I get to do them for fun. So it's a blast.
And you can be a little scary to your friends.
Yes, I can, actually.
Here we have people making things by their hands, they're crafting, they're woodworking, they're practicing ancient skills, and you know, if the fall of civilization comes, they know how to take care of themselves, where the rest of the folks, they won't go to the store, they won't know what to do.
I made my own computer, but it didn't work out very well.
Oh yeah, back in the day you could build your own computer, but now you don't need a computer out here. You just need your brain and your good hands and a family around you.
To immerse yourself in the lifestyle of this fascinating period, or to simply enjoy the fine food and musical entertainment of Scandinavian culture, don't miss the Vista Viking Festival each September in Vista, California.
Or to have someone who said, I've never thrown an axe before, and after taking a moment to give them a couple instructions, and they hit it after the first try or second try, that is that's the prize. That's the payoff right there. Is them, someone who's never thrown an axe before, to actually hit it and be so excited about it. That right there that's the whole thing.
Your outfit is sort of an extension of your emotion at the time.
A little bit, yes. Red, warning. Also, blood of my enemies.
Be careful of me, all right?
I can kill you from range, and if I need to, I can kill you from a short distance too.
Except for TV hosts, you let them go, right?
If I feel like it, yes.